Love you. Okay. Let me start. So, sorry. Okay. I'm Cynthia Becker. I'm the host of the reality series CPS the Horror Stories. I'm not an attorney or a social worker, but I am a mother who had her children kidnapped by Child Protective Services in 2016. And after 2 years of fighting, I was given back my parental rights and children in 2018. Child removals have little to do with protecting kids anymore. Instead, billions of dollars in government contracts and an ever-growing army of highly paid caseworkers seem to be the main objective of this heartbreaking epidemic of government-sanctioned kidnapping. And child protection is one of the biggest businesses in the country. We actually spend $12 billion a year on it. And today I am interviewing, how do I pronounce your name?
Uriel is my son's name. My first name is very unique, Pritchett.
Okay. And go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell me a little bit about you and where you live, where you're from, your job, how many kids you have, all of that fun stuff.
Okay, I'm a mother of 4 children. I'm a security officer at AGB Investigative Services. I stay in Chicago and also been in Chicago since I was 15. I stayed in the system all the way up until 15 and ran away at the age of 15.
Your sound is breaking up a little bit. It wasn't like this when we first started.
Okay, I said, can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's just, it cuts out a little bit. So I heard you're a mother of 4, you're a security officer, and you live in Chicago. And then I think you said that you were in the system as well as a child?
Yes, up until I was 15 and ran away. Yeah.
And then did CPS take your kids as well?
Yes, they took my kids.
Okay. Can we start from when you were a child? Why were you in the system?
I was 7 years old. I really don't recall the whole issue, but I know that my mother had family members who constantly kept calling DCFS on her as well. And also her and my dad also was going through domestic violence. So one day we were left in the house home alone and they basically just took me from my mother. I was 7 and it was also 5 more other siblings that they took. They placed me in a foster home with this abusive lady. I've been abused in her care. Me and my siblings have. They had separated me from 2 boys, which was my 2 brothers. I cried, and she got custody of 6 of my mama kids, and we all was abused. CPS kept coming to her house as well, to the point where they finally held her responsible with my last sister. They finally got her and terminated her rights, which was the foster. But she was very abusive. CPS said that they didn't want to take me and my siblings out of her household because they didn't want to split all 6 of us up because she had 6 of my mother's kids. Yeah.
Wow.
I got to the age of 15. I ran away. I told her I was going to Saturday school and ran away and went back to my biological mother. Somehow the other siblings got up out of her care as well.
Are you the oldest? So you said you're the 3rd oldest?
Yes, I'm the 3rd oldest out of the 6 children she took.
And what type of abuse did you endure?
She used to whoop us naked, punch us all in the face, cut our hair out our head, make us sit in the garage in the cold, and things like that.
That's some extreme abuse. That's not messing around.
Yeah, I also was raped in her household at the age of 14. she beat me for it. And the man who did it, he also went to jail. They released him within 72 hours. And she didn't press charges because it was her cousin. It was a family member. So by me being a minor at the age of 15, he just basically got away with it.
Wow. That's like horrific. That makes me cry.
Yeah, it was bad. I had got through that already as a child. And then,
Oh, you're on mute. Hold on, you're on mute. Okay.
she's now not. Can you hear me?
Yeah, it just cuts out. It goes back. The sound goes back and forth.
Oh, wow. Oh, no.
Okay, so you said the last thing I heard was that you were raped and you got in trouble for that. And then I heard you mention something about 9. What?
I was talking about my oldest daughter. She's 9 now. And I have a 6-year-old. And I also have a 1 and a 2-year-old as well.
And how old are you?
I'm 29.
Okay.
September. Yeah, but I've been going through this case for like quite a while, like for 5 years now. Yeah.
Okay. So let's start with, why did you have a case as an adult?
You said, why do I have a case as an adult?
Yeah, what happened?
My oldest daughter, her dad, he got upset, because I moved on due to a divorce. I had divorced him and took him to family court. They basically gave me full custody of my daughter. She was 4 years old. So he got upset and he continued calling DCFS on me to the point where he was telling them that I'm mental and that I was having domestic violence in the household with my second father, which is the 6-year-old.
So the father of the oldest was the one calling CPS.
Yes, he kept calling them several times, telling them that I'm mental and that I was going through, situations with my second child father, which I was, but no children was harmed or anything like that. I handled my situation that I needed to with the guy, and got order protections against him and did what I had to do. But the domestic violence with me, him didn't start until they took my children.
Okay. You said it did not start until they took your children?
Yeah, and his child was involved due to my oldest daughter dad calling DCFS. So
Okay.
me and him basically had another baby throughout the case, which he's 3 now. They took him at 2 weeks old, basically because they stated because of the case was open. And I also had another baby January 6th that they took as well because they stated that it was an open case, and he's my third father. And they included him in the situation as well, stated that, I'm mental, I'm the reason why they took our baby and stuff, and they basically sabotaged our relationship too as well. Yeah. All my children was abused in DCFS custody.
What kind of abuse?
My oldest daughter, they called me one day I was at work, she had a fractured arm.
A what?
A fractured arm. Her arm got fractured.
Her arm was fractured. Okay.
Yeah, they said that she fell, but she told me that she was pushed. She ended up with a burn from her chest down to her stomach. They said that she was trying to make some noodles. She had no business in the kitchen trying to cook. They left her in the same household. My son, he kept getting diaper dermatitis because they kept leaving feces and urine on him. My middle daughter, she had a busted head. They said it didn't require stitches, so they really wasn't concerned about none of the injuries of my children in care. all my children left with no injuries at all. Like, was nothing really wrong with my kids at all when they left until they got a hold of my children. In the past, what I was telling you about the rape situation, as far as when I was in the system, when I was a kid, they're trying to use that against me, stating that this is why they're considering that I'm mental. The foster mother who I was with in the past, she basically had me on SSI benefits when I was a child. So they trying to use that against me, stating that I'm mental and that they need to have psychologicals did, which they have had 3 psychologicals done. I had did each service more than, multiple times, more than 3 times. They keep making me do the same thing over again. When I visit my children during the visits, they basically try to make up things, because they don't have anything to say that I injure my kids. So I'm just stuck in a situation, and due to COVID, I don't have court all the way into October 5th. They already done had my kids for 5 years. Well, the 2 oldest ones, they had them for 5 years. And the last 2, they basically just involved in the case. My last son, I had him up until he was 4 months because I hid him from DCFS. But they went on the internet and seen a post of my baby, and they basically took him as well. And I had him in another state. So they basically they changed his name, which is not changed on his birth certificate, but in the system they got him under a whole totally different name, birthday and things like that, because they said that I wouldn't release his birth certificate. So I don't know if they basically unlawfully got my son or what. But it's just been a while. Like, I'm not understanding how could they label me as mental and not work for the state as well. Doing security, I have no background. I never abused my children. I always had a stable place to stay. And I really, right now to this day, just need answers like, why do y'all have my children?
Wow. So let's go back to the first day that the oldest 2 were taken. How did they show up?
They basically went up to my oldest daughter's school. My other young baby, she was 1 year old, and my oldest daughter was 4. I always told myself I didn't never wanted her to go to school so early when she was 3, but I did it because she said, "Mommy, I want to go to school." So the DCFS worker who was being called by the father, she went up to the school to question the school and my daughter behind my back. And one day I went up to the school to pick up my daughter, and they told me that I couldn't get her out of class. I said, "Why I can't get my daughter out of class?" They basically stated because they feel like I have some type of mental issues and things like that, which it wasn't up to them to deprive me from my daughter or tell me those things.
Right.
So I just walked to the classroom and said, "I'm going to go to my daughter. Y'all don't have a right to tell me I can't get her out of class." As I walked to the classroom, one security guard, he bum rushed me and pushed me into the wall while I was holding my 1-year-old in my hand. And another
What were you holding in your hand?
My other daughter that was 1 year old, and
Wow.
her head hit the wall, and the other guy came around and he squeezed my stomach so hard to the point where I passed out, and I basically urinated on myself for being squeezed so hard. I got to screaming because my stomach started hurting. And then I was placed in handcuffs and sent to a mental institution. And this is not the first time they sent me to the mental institution, because every time I get sent to the mental institution, the psychiatrist says there's nothing wrong with me. So they're constantly trying to have me admitted in the hospital so that they can get a record stating that something wrong with me mentally. And when I had my last son, which he's 1 now, this was January 6th when I had him. February, I went to court when they opened up a case. They had me detained in the mental institution again. They had me handcuffed from my feet all the way to my hands, stating that I'm mental, and had me placed in the hospital again. And I was sent home within an hour. Yeah, so they basically was having me admitted, trying to get a record to say that I was mental, because that's what the father was telling them. And due to me being on SSI benefits, they're trying to get a reason why they basically took my children. And no hospital would do it. But out of the psychologicals that they had me doing, I had did 3 psychologicals. The psychologicals is stating all what the DCFS workers are saying. Like every time they get a report, they basically going off what the DCFS workers saying. And then they stating that I had PTSD due to the trauma.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and due to the trauma in my life as well. Yeah, so it's a lot of false allegations that's in the case. After the situation occurred, when they had me admitted at my daughter's school, they basically put in the report that I went up to the school erratic and I punched a security guard in the face. And basically I beat up the security guard. I was not arrested or none of these things. I was basically just sent to the hospital. But none of these things happened what they said. The school basically went off of what the DCFS worker said, because she went up to the school telling them that she had concerns about the mother's mental health. The school deprived me from getting my daughter, and they basically took my children. And each child that I had after that, they took them as well. And then when I went back to court, after I had the new baby, they said that they're taking them because I wasn't medical compliant. To remind you, I was pregnant the whole 9 months carrying my children. So how could I take any medication? And why would y'all try to force me to take medication while I'm pregnant? Yeah. And ever since they had my children, out of 5 years, all my drug tests came back negative. I had no positive drops. They basically don't have anything. I can't have unsupervised visitation because the caseworkers in the agency don't like me at all. They constantly keep saying I'm mental because they don't like the fact that I address issues about the abuse and things that's going on with my children in the system. So they're stating that I'm mental and that they don't feel that it's safe for me to have visitation without a supervisor or someone monitoring my visits. I fed my son when he turned 1 year. Matter of fact, he turned 6 months. It was time for him to eat baby food. I gave him some breech nuts, strawberry banana baby food, and they basically penalized me for that, to the point where they suspended my visits and I haven't seen my kids for 5 months because of that. Yeah, because the transporter didn't agree with me feeding him the baby food. And my other son, I gave him mashed potatoes. He was 1 year old at the time. And they felt some type of way about me giving him mashed potatoes. When I burped my son, I was patting his back. The caseworker, oh, don't hit him in the back. I said, I'm not hitting him in his back. She said, we don't burp babies anymore. They can choke like that. And we can't put them in the walkers anymore or anything because it'll mess up their legs. And they just say something. They make my visits so uncomfortable to the point where I can't visit my children. Anytime I visit them, they try to make it seem as if I'm doing something. They got me on the scrutiny, like, really bad. Telling me what to do with my kids, just lecturing me. I basically, out of 5 years, I haven't had a good visit with my kids without them talking to me.
Wow, it's just like, as a parent, you're not doing anything wrong, but yet they're making everything a big deal.
They are, and they also trying to get a reaction out of me by antagonizing me because they want to, prove to the court that I'm mental, and they basically can't really say that it's something crazy about me.
Have you had a psych evaluation?
Yeah, they made me do 3.
And all 3 of them, you said, just came back with PTSD and what else?
Just PTSD, basically off of what I went through as a child and the domestic violence and the trauma that I suffered in my life. Yeah, it's nothing stating. Well, they don't have anything stating that I have done anything. Like I say, I'm a security officer. I have no background, never harmed my kids or anything like that. They're stating substantial risk of harm.
So, all your visits are supervised, you said?
Yes, they're supervised. They were at my house until this one transporter got on the case, who basically they're using to try to write a case on me. Every time I have a visit with him, he comes up with something like I was talking about the baby food. That was an issue. Me changing my son inside of the washroom was an issue. And they basically trying to say that I'm a flight risk because I cracked the door, closed the door when I was changing my son.
Wow.
But the transporter went back and told the agency that basically I locked myself in the washroom with myself for half an hour.
Hold on, I didn't hear any of that.
The transporter, he went back and told the agency that I locked myself inside of the washroom with my son for a half an hour. He basically lied.
You said that you locked yourself in the washroom?
Yes, instead of him saying that I closed the door to change my diaper. It's a lot of stuff that I'm going through with CPS.
Yeah.
The main thing is that they're trying to prove that I'm unfit. They're saying that I'm mental. So by them saying that I'm mental, they're antagonizing me, trying to get a reaction and trying to basically come up with things to say that, to prove that I'm mental. Because nothing else is working. Each service that I have done was progress. And they're trying to manipulate my therapist. They try to manipulate the psychiatrists and everybody to basically tell them things about me so that they can write these things in a report so it can go back to the court that I'm doing this and that, which I'm not.
Wow.
I really don't feel like I have a challenge.
Hold on, I didn't hear you.
I really don't know what to do about my situation. I have tried to find lawyers and things like that because I really, a lot of people, it's hard to sue DCFS. A lot of lawyers, they don't want to take the case. And, I see a lot of mothers, I know that a lot of mothers went through it for like a year or two or things like that. I have been going through it for 5 years, and they still have not, every time I go to court, they have not ruled on my case yet. It's just continuance after continuance. I had 5 caseworkers on my case, 3 therapists, and it's out of hand. They don't know what to do in court. They can't find the people, the investigators who basically came up with the reports. So every time I go to court, the judge tried to get them time to find the people who came up with the reports, the investigators, and they can't find the investigators either. And then I just got a new judge recently. Hopefully everything changed because he said that he believed in reunification, but I'm not sure. Yeah. I was supposed to have got unsupervised visit a long time ago, but as long as the caseworkers and them keep coming up with she's doing this, doing her business and doing that, then it's not gonna be good. Even though I got real good, I had parenting 3 times. I got real good reports how I interact with my children and a lot of progress from coaching and parenting. And it's basically just the agency that I'm caught up in. They're not understanding that you all took a newborn children from me. Never even gave me a chance to even be a parent. My oldest daughter was 4 years old. Y'all took a 1-year-old, a 2-week-old, and also a 4-month baby from me. So it's like y'all just taking my children when it's parents out here that really do need y'all services,
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds like you don't need them in your life, and yet they remain in there, and that's exactly, it's damaging. It ruins people's lives.
It does. Cause they coming after my siblings as well. So it's kind of weird that one of my little siblings, they recently just came after her and her children. So I'm trying to find out like what is the DCFS? People know your situation, like when you was a kid, when you was in the system, and they're trying to use it again.
Yes.
Not fair at all.
No.
It got to the point where I've been going through it for so long. All I cries and everything. Like I had stressed myself to the point where I always was wishing that I was dead without my kids. Like there's no purpose of living and stuff like that. But I had to be strong about the situation and just, continue fighting and never give up. But I just wish that it's something that somebody can do about DCFS, period. Like kids that's not being injured and loving parents who are stable, I wish they could just get justice some type of way. Yeah. So recently, my son, he was with the last baby. He was with a family who went out of state, and they recently just moved him to another home, placed him with my other son who's about to be 3 in August. They placed him with him, and they didn't notify me until the last minute that they even moved my son.
So the kids are not together.
No, two girls are together. One person, two boys, but they're doing everything in their power to keep my kids away from me. By telling these people that I'm mental and I don't deserve to be around my kids and things like that. They also want me to feel as if I'm mental too, not knowing that any mother going through this situation will be frustrated. And,
Absolutely.
my last two children, I was breastfeeding my sons. And they took them away from me, saying that I need to be on medication and things like that. And I never understood what did they have to do with the case in the first place. It came in 2015. And I never understood what did my sons have to do with the case. Even my two daughters, even though I went through, situations with the fathers, like I said, I handled it the proper way. And it also was the past. Like what I had with my oldest daughter, dad, it was like way in the past. Before they even took my daughter, they went back on stuff that happened in 2012. I already had another child involved by another father, so it had nothing to do with that. I took him to court, and family court told him not to even bring this situation up in no other courts, and he did it anyway. They gave him visitation, and come to find out, he had things on his background, as far as rape and things like that. So I never even wanted him around my daughter in the first place, and that's why. And they basically, when they took her the first time, they gave her to him. So they basically tried to make things as if they were saying everything that they placed in the report, they tried to make it into existence.
They did that to me, try to say I was crazy because my mom, who had my kids, told them that I was, and it was just so unbelievable the way that they treated me. And same thing with the therapist. Like our stories sound so similar, and there was one therapist that we had to go to together, and my mom, the first thing she would say was, she's crazy. And then the the doctor, the first visit, like really believed my mom, and he judged me hard. And it was crazy because I'm like, I feel like I didn't even have a chance out the door. You know, it's just started with she's crazy, so I'm crazy, and that's it. But then each visit, my mom would repeat herself, the same things. She's crazy. She's a habitual liar. She's this. And that's all my mom could say. Repeat, repeat, repeat. And finally the doctor was like, maybe you're the crazy one, you know, because she couldn't even say anything else. And then I had a therapist, so they labeled my case as a red file case, meaning it's got a lot of depth and very complicated and crazy. And so the therapist I was seeing from them that they assigned me to, he only gets these files. And they told him I was manipulating him and that I'm a narcissist and all of this stuff. And I'm like, I'm being honest. I'm telling you. And he's an older man. And he's like, I've never in my life seen a case like this. And that's all he does is CPS cases. So, but he was blown away with how they were making me out to be this crazy person that I'm not.
Yeah, they make you look real bad on paper. Like, and they also will gaslight you that way. Like, anybody who we talk to our psychiatrist, therapist will believe it.
Yes.
It's always done to me, and I'm still going through it now today where I can't overcome it. You know, everything that they stating is not true. You know, people have seen my household, they've seen how I was living, they've seen how I took care of my children, and it all was basically just jealousy from, you know, the last two fathers. And sometimes it could be family too as well. Your own family could do it.
Mm-hmm. I didn't hear you.
I said it could also be your own family as well that are trying to gaslight you.
Of course.
They can be jealous, and some of them just want your children.
Mm-hmm.
I have done very wrong.
You're breaking up.
I said I have been done very wrong by DCFS, and by me going on the web the site, I have seen a lot of similar people going through the same situation, and I thought I was alone, you know, but it's a lot of people that's going through, you know.
Mm-hmm. You know, I went through a few psych evaluations too. I think I had to do 3 also. One was one that my attorney had me sent to, and the test that he did on me was 2 parts. One part was an actual written test where you have to do multiple choice type things, and you can't fake this test. It proves whether you're crazy or not. And it's like 2,500 questions, and then the second part is verbal. So you're sitting there talking to him, and he's asking all these questions and stuff like that. That part I can see how somebody can manipulate it, but the first part, no. The only thing that came up as a diagnosis was, I think, anxiety and PTSD, and that was it. And it's like, no, beep. Of course I have those things. You stole my children.
Exactly.
Why? So I think I would be crazy if I didn't have those things, because
Right.
then something is wrong with you. Like, how are you handling this so well that you don't have any mental things wrong with you?
Yeah, any mother that love their children, a good mother would miss their kids and be frustrated.
Absolutely.
Like, you carry your child for 9 months, and you know, my last 2 children, I had them natural birth. I had natural birth, and they took So I went through all that pain and suffering, and they took my kids. I felt some type of way about it. Like, y'all, I went through all this pain, and then here it is, y'all taking my children. And then,
Yeah.
plus, you're supposed to be bonding with your newborn. So for them to place them in somebody else's household, your little kid,
Yeah.
is very devastating. It's nothing to go through.
My mom was the one who actually physically kidnapped my kids and then had them the whole time. And like I said, stated I was crazy, that I had mental issues, you name it. And when I got my kids back, it was just like my mom went crazy. But she was crazy the whole time, but she proved to them who was actually the issue in the case.
It seemed like they just keep the children for the income. Yeah, so, but for you to go against your own daughter, your own family,
Yeah, going against your own family. You're supposed to help each other. You're supposed to love each other and be there, not call CPS on them. If people use that phone number as a way to just get back at someone or cause them harm, that's not what it's for. It's
you're hurting the kids. You're hurting
yes.
them. Yeah, they don't. That's what they do. I deal with it through my family a lot, and it's weird because you're not really, even though you hurting the parent, you more hurting the child because by us being grown and adults and the way we feel being stripped away from our children, just imagine how the kids feel. Probably even worse. They little, so
I don't know if you saw, but I did an interview on my daughter.
yeah, I see.
And she got to tell from a child's point of view what it's like during every visit, being, because like you said, we have that bond with our children. I breastfed my kids for 2.5 years each. I held them in my stomach for 9 months. I taught them things, and now you're telling me I'm not a good mom and you're gonna steal my kids and you're gonna place them with somebody else. And so she got to talk about, during our visits, what it was like for her to be separated from me and how traumatic it is for the children to have to say goodbye because they don't have any understanding. Why can't I just be with my mom?
Holidays, birthdays, and things like that. It's
Yeah.
hard for me, so it's real devastating. You got to be a real strong-minded person to go through it. Like anybody, you got to be real strong because there's a lot of people that honestly will suicidal and probably commit suicide going through some stuff like this. There's been times where I couldn't sleep. Some people might end up really going to drugs. You think you're helping them by stripping them away from their children, giving them a chance to be a better person. Taking their kids is not the key.
No. And you know what? I've said this several times. I used to be judgmental. And when my kids got taken, that was the first time in my life I understood why people could go to drugs and alcohol, get drunk. You want to remove that pain. You want to numb yourself because when you have a visit, whether it's at your house or not, and your kids leave little marks on you.
Yeah, nothing but memories. Like I got a lot of pictures. Like this is my oldest daughter right now. This is a picture of her when they took her.
Wow, she's beautiful.
It's
The glare.
I'm sorry.
Oh my goodness. And
They're big.
she's even got the I love you sign.
Yeah, they big now. So you know they grow so fast.
Oh,
This is the last baby.
they're beautiful.
Yeah, they were happy kids. So hard. And then dealing with the streets every day, being around people, and you know, not being able to explain why your kids in the system is hard too, because some people just feel like DCFS don't take people kids for no reason.
Yes.
It's hard trying to tell people, basically just look at it like something had to happen while your kids in the system.
I remember people saying that to me, like, CPS does not just take your kids for no reason. You had to have done something. And I'm like, no, actually, I didn't. I've never beat my kids. I've never neglected them or abandoned them. I've never put them, I have health issues and I have other things, but that's not my fault and that's no reason to take my kids from me.
Five, 5 years, that's a long time.
I can't believe that. 5 years for your case being open. That's a long time.
Five
But
years.
you still have your parental rights, correct?
I have my rights. And to this day, they not going for TPR, is what they're stating. My oldest two daughters, they basically trying to give them up for guardianship with, you know, my sister. My oldest sister on my daddy's side, I haven't grew up with her, but she ended up with my daughters, and she basically changed on me, and she's basically trying to keep the kids. Like, they want to adopt my children. But by me constantly keep fighting and putting up a fight, it's like they feel some type of way about it. So I don't know how could they change my goal with my daughters to guardianship in the first place after I done completed services 6 months prior to the case. Also did multiple services and my rights not terminated. So how are y'all just gonna give up my kids for guardianship? Yeah. They said my two sons, the goal still return home. So they basically want to give me my sons back. And my daughters is the reason why I went through all this and fought hard for, you know?
Yeah. I didn't. Hold on, I'm not hearing you.
Hopefully if I can get my sons back, then they can change the goal back with the daughters to return home.
That'd be awesome. Hold on, I can't hear you again.
I said I'm just looking forward to that to happen.
Yeah.
But they basically keep trying to find a reason to keep prolonging the case, you know. And I don't care. Even if I do get my children back, I'm still gonna go through PTSD, you know.
Yeah, you will.
They could never bring back the days that I miss with my kids. Never.
No.
2015.
All
And it,
their first things that they do, first steps, first anything. Tooth that comes out.
all those are important moments. And
Yeah.
the foster parents is weird because it's like they want the credit for it. They want the credit for taking care of your children and oh, we raised our kids and things like that. And that a lot of that stuff is weird. They even got our children calling them mom and dad.
Yeah. That was hard for me too when my kids were calling my mother mom and didn't understand that's not your mom. I am. I gave birth to you. I breastfed you. I've taken care of you. I've taught you how to do each and everything that you know how, not her.
They try to get credit for it though. Like some foster parents even think that these are their kids for real.
Yes.
Go have your own children.
Yeah. Man, I'm so sorry that you're going through this right now.
Still trying to be able to keep a stable job, work, keep my household in an empty house by myself, no kids. It's all hard. I done went through 3 or 4 households without my children, decorated the rooms, and kids never came home. Yeah. Just recently heard that I got court October 5th, and that's like 2 more months from now. And I was supposed to go. The last court date was supposed to be in March, where they were supposed to hear my motions as far as unsupervised visitation and things like that. And everything else opening back up. So I'm not understanding why the juvenile courthouse is still supposed to be closed. I don't know if they having court behind parents' back or whatever they doing in there. So they're not notifying parents anything.
What about having a Zoom online?
He basically don't answer none of my calls, and he basically said that he would prefer to have court in person.
Do you have a court appointed attorney?
He said that he prefer to have court in person, but he not understanding it's holding me back from. It's basically been 9 months since I had court. Yeah. Hoping they said that when we go to our visits, when they start back in person, that we can't give our kids any affection. We got to give them 6 feet. It's like I basically never even had a good visit with my children out of 5 years. So it's hard. Anything I do, like I say, if I burp my baby, I hug them. They're trying to say I'm doing something to my children.
Wow. I don't have any words. I'm just sorry. I'm so sorry you're going through this. I really am.
I'm keeping a strong head, because I know that at the end of the day, God got the last say. So DCFS, I don't understand could they get away with doing all these things that is not above the law. They sometimes act like they the police, and that's not the case. But everything that's in the dark, it will come to the light.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. I really appreciate you sharing your story.
Um,
Huh?
I said no problem. I just, like I said, I didn't know that it was, similar situations to mine. So by me hearing you all's story as well, it was more motivational because you all did get your children back. So it basically just encouraged me to continue fighting and move forward. So that's what I'm gonna do. And when I do go back to court, I'm gonna keep you updated.
Absolutely. I want to know what happens. I want to know when you get your kids back because that's what's going to happen.
Some people just think the way the case be looking, it just look like your kids never coming back home and things like that. But a lot of people have got y'all children back, which is good because sometimes it feel like, oh Lord, please don't let them not let me see my kids ever again. It'll be
Yeah.
hard.
You're very strong and brave, and like I said, I really appreciate you sharing your story. It's very, very emotional. And I'm really sorry that you've gone through such hell your whole life.
Yeah.
And like you said, it does show us that we're not the only ones going through this, that we're not crazy, we're not any of these things that they label us as.
We parents, you know what I'm saying?
Say that again, you cut out. Nope, you're breaking up.
Can you hear me? I said we are human and we are mothers. We have a right to be frustrated in this type of situation as far as being stripped away from our children. They are our kids, you know, and
Absolutely.
take our kids away from us. Who's to say that they're not going to put them in a worse situation? You know, us as parents, we protective of our children, so we scared if anything happened to them while they're not in our care. Every day we think about our children, you know, because it's a lot of people out here that really are evil and they abuse children. Because by me being in the system already as a child, I already know what they do. So for them to put my kids in a situation, it's scary.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. And for you to come up with your own little post thingy, what you call it?
What?
I was hoping that somebody did come up with something to expose DCFS, because somebody need to let people know what it really is. You know, DCFS is not really out here protecting kids.
Right.
Some kids are off in their own home if they're gonna put them in DCFS, and I wouldn't wish DCFS on my worst enemy.
Right.
I don't know anybody that been in DCFS care that had a good experience at all.
No, I don't either.
It was great.
Yeah. I appreciate everything. I want to know what happens. I want to keep in touch.
Okay. Yep, I have to keep you updated.
Yeah.
I know by my case being so long, at least 5 years, I'm almost at the end. But I
Yes.
put up a fight, and they don't like mothers that, you know, that's not gonna give up on their kids. So
No, they don't. Well, let me know what happens. And I hope you have an amazing day.
you too.
Bye.
Yeah.